Imagine Alex Hormozi woke up tomorrow and everything was gone. No money, no clients, no audience. And the only thing he would have left was a real estate license. How do you think he would get his first listing? I don't think he would have some magic formula. I would think he would do one thing: 100 inputs every single day. So I have consumed over 100 plus hours of content from Alex Hormozi, and this is my belief that what he would have done if he would have to start over, being a real estate agent, no audience, no clients, no money, and if he would have had only one goal: to get his first listing. And the problem that most agents has is really that a lot of agents are watching things, they learn, they overthink, and then they switch the strategy and they do that on repeat. Meaning that there are so many different things that a real estate agent could do in order to get more success, get more leads, get more listings. But the biggest problem is that two things it's one, the overthinking, because I would say that in reality, like, it's very simple and straightforward as long as you have the knowledge what you're supposed to do in order to get more success as a real estate agent. But the problem is that there's so many people overthinking and try to make it harder than it really is. And the second thing is that there are so many people that just switch strategy because they talk with other agents, in their firm, they speak with other agents they know, they watch YouTube, they read stuff, they read sales books, and this person says this agent says this. So like there's so many things that they're getting bombarded with, which means that let's say that they start one strategy, but then in 1, 2, 3 weeks they hear something else and they switch strategy. So this is very, very bad because it's like this bad pattern and habit that have happened, which leads to many agents not getting the success that they want. So this is what I really would believe that Alex Hormozi would do if he would start over. So first of all, he has a concept that he calls for the rule of 100, which really means that, to put it down simply, is that the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. Meaning, as you can see, like the more volume you do, the luckier you get. And the reason why the rule of 100 is so good is because it makes it crystal clear that, well, you cannot make 10 cold calls a day. You have to do it in the hundreds, because if you do so much volume, it would be unreasonable that you fail. So this is what he would have done. He would start with focusing on getting up the volume, then making sure that he is insanely consistent, and then making sure that he have put enough reps in to make the work compound. So I would explain this. So what the rule of 100 really is all about is that you make sure that you do 100 inputs every single day. And I'm very certain that Alex Hormozi, first of all, like, he's a very smart human being on this planet. Like, he wouldn't have got the success he has so far if he wouldn't have been insanely smart. But I would argue more that the number one reason he has gotten the success he has is because he have done so much volume that it would be unreasonable that he failed. So first of all, starting off from scratch, the number one question he would have done is that, well, okay, what's the different ways I can get leads? Because if you want to get a listing, you have to get some kind of lead. And for most of you, if you're familiar with Alex Hormozi, there are only 4 ways to get leads. I will repeat them if you don't know them. So first off, you have cold outreach, which is you contacting people who doesn't know who you are. Then you have 2, you have warm outreach, which means that you're contacting people who already know who you are. And then you have paid ads, which is you paying for advertising. It could be advertising on social media. It could be flyers, send out in the local neighborhood. And then the last one is posting free content. And then he would ask himself the second question. Okay, which of these gives me the most leverage? And then he would rank them. And then, of course, posting free content is number 1, because it gives you the most leverage, for the least effort, so to say. So he would start with that, doing 100 minutes of content every single day, and then he would probably go to number 2, which is the second thing I could be doing, which is warm outreach, which is contacting people who already know that you exist. And then the third thing would probably be making cold calls, as it's as I said before, he doesn't have any money. So, these things are for free. And then the last one, as soon as he get a little bit of money, I'm very certain that when he start his day, he'll do 100 minutes of content. Then he do 100 outreach of people who already know who he is. And then he make his cold calls. And as soon as he gets some money in, he would probably add sending out 100 flyers every single day. So these are the actions I'm very certain that Alex Hormozi would have done. And especially the question highest up here, really thinking about what gives me the most leverage, which means what gives me the most results for the least effort. And you might think, well, okay, why does this work? Because the more reps you put in, the more feedback you're going to get. Like, does this work? Doesn't work? Do I have to change it up? So for every single thing you do, you get feedback, and then you can fine tune and move forward. And the more volume you put in, the more feedback you're going to get, which means that, the goal of you getting a listing, you're going to get it as fast as possible because you do so much volume. Because imagine you would, instead of, doing 100 minutes of content every single day, you would just put like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Like, you don't really have that too much time to make something that's good quality, or rather let's say that you reach out to 10 people that already know you every single day instead of doing 100. Like, you're going to get so much more feedback from the 90 more you do than just doing the 10 and then, trying to figure something out from that. And you also, it's simple because the more volume you do, the luckier you get, because it's just a numbers game. In the end of the day, when you are new, you have no money, nothing, and you want to get your first listing, it's just a matter of time until you reach someone who has the thought of selling, and then boom, you get in contact, or they reach out, or whatever. So the more volume you do, the more opportunities you're going to get. And I really love this kind of sentence, like, the more volume you do, the luckier you get. It's just like how the world works, because imagine if it didn't work that way. Like, imagine you just have to do call one person a day and you will get one lead. Like, imagine if the world would have worked that way. It wouldn't be reasonable. And the reason why the more volume you do, the luckier you get, the more success you're going to get, is because there's so few people out there that are consistent, are willing to do, put in the work and doing it for a long period of time. So just a matter, like a numbers game. Okay, if there's very few people who do this, is it reasonable that I will be successful? Because if you wanna be extraordinary, you have to be the exception. That's really how it works. And this is very important as well. I talked a little about before, but the reason most people quit, I would say this is probably number one. Like, people throw in the towel too early. Like, mark my words, like, you can't just do something for one day or 1 week. Like, you really have to commit for years. And this is something that Hormozi would sign off with his autograph, is that, commit to something for years and decades instead of just doing something for weeks and months. And another thing that is very important to understand as well is that you're too inconsistent. Because as I said, like, if you do something for 1 week, like, how would you get some kind of, long-lasting success from that? It would be unreasonable. Like, if I would just post one YouTube video and then I don't post anything more in my entire life, of course I'm not going to get successful. Like, how would that happen? And one thing I actually know from a lot of agents I've spoken with myself, and especially new agents, is that they get too emotional in the process. Like, they get too emotionally attached into their, the meetings they go on, and putting too much importance of getting the listing, getting the leads, etc., which is really messing with your head. Because in the beginning, and if as Hormozi, no money, no audience, etc., like he would only focus on the inputs. He would say, okay, when the week is over, have I done my 100 minutes a day? Monday to Sunday, every single day. And if he would look back, well, I did that, boom, I'm a winner. And then he would continue with the next week and next week and next week. And then he would look at, okay, look at the feedback as well. Like, is this working, what I'm currently doing? Is there something I have to change? Because that's the game you want to play. And if you have this kind of mindset, like, you will be insanely successful. Because if you are putting too much importance of the goals instead of the inputs, you're really focusing on the wrong things. Because when you start to get the leads, when you start to get the listings, you have to keep going. This one, I talked about it before as well. There's so many strategies, so you have to pick one and then just go. And we live in a world where, I love one quote as well that I think Alex Hormozi have said, which is we live in a world where it has never been easier to be successful. On the flip side, though, we live in a world where we have, it's never been easier to be distracted, because we have so many things. We have social media, we have Netflix, we have things happening, etc. So you really have to lock out the things that won't get you to the goals you have, and just focus on the things that really matter. So this is now how you can apply the rule of 100 so you can get as much success as Alex Hormozi. So first of all, as I said, there's so many strategies. So I really want to make things simple for you, because I do believe that one of the reasons why most agents, in general speaking, don't have achieved the success they want is because they have so many things that they're doing, and they're all over the place. So you have to pick one. I.e., do I want to spend 100 minutes a day of content? Do I want to spend 100 minutes a day or doing 100 outreaches per day to people who I already know, etc.? And the thing is that you cannot just do it once a week. You really have to do it every single day. And that's not just Monday to Friday. Because if you really think about it, if you only do something Monday to Friday, that means that for every week that goes, you have 2 days that you didn't do something. And the compounding interest that could, make the snowball just bigger and bigger. And imagine you have a competitor of yours that does that. Well, what does that mean? Well, if my math is correct, which means that you get two days per week times 4, which really means, if you really think about it and make everything a lot simpler, 2 times per week, there are 52 weeks in a year. That means you have 104 days in a year where you're missing out, that you could be using, and probably someone else is using, to get the success they want. And you don't stop. If there's just one thing I would take you to take away from this video, and I would agree that Alex Hormozi would have some similar kind of mindset to this, is that you just have to pick one. Spend 30 minutes, 1 hour thinking about, okay, what's the thing that gives me the most leverage? And then pick it and do it. Commit to doing it for 100 days. Not just 1 week, not just 10 days, 100 days. And then when you have done that, you do it for 100 more. And then you do it for 100 more. And you learn, you improve, you become better, and you just keep going. And then the success you want, it keeps on coming, and you keep doing the things that just got you there. Because the thing is that if you commit to this and do it for 100 days, I'm very certain that there's no other thing in the world that's probably going to have you a higher chance of getting the things you want, aka more listings, more leads. But once you get the things that you really wanted, as why you started doing it, you cannot quit. So please don't stop. Just keep on doing it for the rest of your career, and you don't want to and you will not have any problems, at least in getting new listings. Because the things that really happen is that you have to start to understand the rule of compounding. Because the first day, nothing is going to happen. And by day 30, you have implemented it as a habit. Probably something might have happened, but most likely nothing as well. And by day 100, boom, Now you probably have getting a taste of the success you really desperately wanted. What do? You keep on going. Because you have to see things as a snowball effect. Because if you're new, you have no money, no reputation, you want to get the first listing, you just have to, be ruthless of doing the inputs that will in the end get you the desired outcome. And for each week and day and month and year that goes, the snowball just keep on compounding. And the bigger it gets, the easier thing gets as well. So you don't want the snowball to, stop rolling. You just have to keep it going. Because why, if you really think about it, if you have worked your ass off for 1-2 years building something, truly extraordinary, if you commit to 100 minutes of content every single day and you do it for 2 years, you would probably have a very big personal brand by that time. If you keep improving, you're getting better, you understand what content works and what doesn't, like, why would you kill that momentum? Like, you have spent 100 minutes a day for 2 years. I don't know how many minutes that is over 2 years, but it's a lot of hours. Like, why would you kill that? So please just keep on going. And the thing that is very important to address here as well is, like, what's the real goal? Like, the goal for you is not to try to find some motivation that will keep you going. Like, if you watch this video, you feel motivated, well, that is very good. But you just have to commit to the actions. Like, create great habits, make sure you're disciplined, and commit to doing the volume every single day. Like, I have yet spoken with a person that have committed to the rule of a 100, done it, 100 things for 100 days, and they haven't got the success they want. So you just have to prioritize the right things, make sure you do it in the beginning of the day, so you don't have any excuses like, well, I'm tired in the evening, I don't want to do it, etc. And the real lesson here that I wanted to share with you before we go for this video is that the core concept is that you shouldn't copy exactly what Hormozi is doing. You have to copy the principles he's using, which really is, commit to 100 inputs for 100 days. And I'm very certain you're going to get the success you want. And now don't forget to watch this video where I talk about one thing that Ryan Serhant figured out way before everyone else, and it's probably the #1 reason why he has gotten the success he has so far in his career.